Hi there, James with you for Kalkine, and in this video we're focusing on the concept of long-term incentive plans. But first, how about a little incentive for us to keep you informed? The best way to do that is to subscribe to the channel and, for your own benefit, click the bell icon to stay across the latest videos from Kalkine. Alright, let's take a look at what a long-term incentive plan is. Under a long-term incentive plan, a company rewards those employees who can reach goals that increase the shareholders' wealth. The employees must fulfill specific requirements and conditions in a long-term incentive plan, also known as LTIP. There are different types of LTIPs, and recipients obtain capped options along with stock rewards. LTIPs are geared towards employees. However, the policy is a function of the organisation itself, aiming to achieve long-term growth. After creating a match between the company's LTIP and the growth plan of the company, the employees ascertain the areas which require the most attention to improve the business growth prospects and the earning potential of the employees through compensation. By employing the incentive plans, a company can retain the top talent in the evolving and highly competitive business environment. So, in summary, under a long-term incentive plan, those employees are rewarded who can reach goals that increase the shareholders' wealth. The employees must also fulfill specific requirements and conditions mentioned in the LTIP. There are also different types of LTIPs, and recipients obtain capped options along with the stock rewards. LTIP policies are a function of the organisation itself, aiming to achieve long-term growth. And with LTIPs, the employees ascertain the areas which require the most attention to improve business growth prospects and the earning potential of the employees through compensation. But there's more to long-term incentive plans. Let's take a deep dive by looking at the different categories of LTIPs. They can generally be divided into three broad categories, namely appreciation-based. The incentives are extended to the employees based on the value of the company, which is reflected through the share prices in the case of the public companies. The employees will obtain the difference between the value of the underlying unit in the future and the value of the underlying units when the stock's appreciation rights were received. There's also a stock-based LTIP. In this one, the value is given to the employees in the form of the company's stock. The incentive might be tied with the achievement of specific goals, but the employees will gain the company's share ultimately. The company might grant the phantom shares, in which the value of the underlying shares are tracked but cash is used for payout purposes. Then there's also a cash-based incentive. The value to be delivered is not tied with the company's shares and is delivered in the form of cash. The cash payout will be received by the employees based on the services extended by them or the achievement of the company's goals, or both. So what are the long-term incentive vehicles? Well, there are stock options. This incentive vehicle gives the right to the grantee to purchase the company's share at a predetermined price in the future. The fixed price is generally the closing price of the stock on the date of the grant. After the completion of the vesting period, the grantee can exercise the right to purchase the company's stocks. The time frame during which the grantee can exercise its option to buy the share is known as the term. Generally, the term is 10 years. In case the value of the shares is lower than the predetermined price decided during providing the grant, then the options do not have any value, and these options are termed as underwater. There's also stock appreciation rights. SARs perform like a stock option. The only difference is that the grantee will receive the change in the value of shares in the form of cash. The grantee is not required to purchase the shares, but will receive the cash in exchange for the value of the shares. Restricted stocks. These LTIP vehicles are based on the fixed length of the time. The equity can be granted based on the number of the shares or based on the value. Performance units. They are full value shares, and the vesting is dependent upon the predetermined performance goals. The goals can be relative, absolute, internal, external, or both. They're popular because they can be easily linked with long-term performance and payout. Long-term cash units. These are long-term non-equity based grants, and the payout is made in cash. The cash will be received by the grantee faster than the completion of the vesting period. Performance cash units. These are long-term cash-based grants which are based on performance achievement. The vehicles are most common in the private companies because it has share valuation difficulty. What is vesting? The long-term incentives are granted with a vesting period. Chiefly, the grantees are granted equity conditionally, and the employees do not own it until the vesting period on the LTI expires. It is a retentive feature of LTI. The grant is forfeited until the grantee fulfills all the requirements related to the vesting. For example, the employee is required to remain an employee of the company till a specific time after meeting the performance goals. The vesting period can be divided into two types, namely ratable and cliff. In the cliff vest type, the whole awards are paid out at once after the completion of the vesting period. In the ratable vest type, the awards are paid out in portions. For example, paying 25% of the award after 4 years only. In the case of the employees ending their employment with the company before the completion of the vesting period, then the employees still have the ownership of the award that has vested. And lastly, who should receive long-term incentives? Long-term incentives are typically more prevalent for employees who are in a more elevated position within a company. Put simply, those who occupy roles higher in a company's organisational structure have a greater ability to impact change with the organisation, which can in turn have huge ramifications for shareholders. So whilst there can be no discrediting of the hard work completed by those lower down the rungs, the money and rewards tend to flow the way of the decision makers. Hopefully that gives you some key insight into the concept of long-term incentive plans. And if you'd like any further information on the topic, simply head across to kalkinemedia.com. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay across the latest videos from Kalkine. I'm James Preston for Kalkine.